Kitana is a neutral type of character, meaning that she wants to be right here. You don't really want to be up here with Kitana because she doesn't have any really strong mids or lows. Her mid is the back 1. It's not bad, it's just a regular 13, but from here you can do back 2, which is her strongest normal in my opinion. So you always want to take advantage of her strongest strings, which is this one. She's also an excellent zoner. Her projectiles are really underrated. That's just her normal projectiles. She also has a low fan that we'll show you in another variation. In terms of staggers are alright. They're not the best, but can do quite a bit of things. So for example, especially with back 1, it's -4, which is not usually good in terms of frames when you want to stagger. Good frames to stagger are -2, but -4 is still acceptable. And since there's a crushing blow off of a counter or punish with a back 1, you can always stagger that one, and then when they try to take back their turn, you do back 1, 3, 4. And that would look something like that. So I stagger, I react, and then I get caught, right? In terms of pokes, I recommend that you always down 4, almost always down 4, right? Because the range on the down 4 is excellent. Plus it pushes her away. It pushes the other Kitana away and it resets neutral on hit. And on block, it pushes her away still, right? And with Kitana, like I said, you always want to push people away. And you know, if you're real close, you're still in range for the back 3. The down 4 jails it to the back 2 as well, right? If we do this, it's right in range and it jails. How do I know it jails? Because the other Kitana doesn't have time to crouch, right? So she's stuck here in animation until she has time to crouch again. This means that she only has time to block and not do anything else. So it jails. Back 2, just back 2 flat, back 2 is another good stagger. It's 0, but you still have an advantage because you know you're going to stagger while the other person has to react. Right? And like I said, a stagger that's -2 is good. So imagine a stagger that's 0. That's amazing, right? So those are the type of techs you can do. You stagger that one and then you proceed to do other things as well. The back 1, 3, this one is pretty good because it gives you a little bit of distance. It doesn't reset neutral completely, right? But it gives you just a little bit of space to be out of range, which allows you to keep going with the back 2 or step back a little bit and go for the back 2. Not too much though, as you can see. The back 3 can also be used as a stagger. It's pretty good as a stagger, I think. Back -4 only in terms of range, not the best, but it's a little bit difficult to react to. So stagger the back 3 and then go for combos or go for a poke to gel. Since the patch, all the pokes gel, all of them. So it doesn't matter if you do back down 1, down 3, down 4. For example, I do down 1. Still gel, right? She didn't have time to crouch again, right? So I jump to 1, 2, down 3, jump to 1, 2. And the down 3 here is a bit better in my opinion because it's faster. It's 7 frames compared to 9 frames. Obviously this has a much nicer range, but if you're close, you want to use the down 3. The animation of the opponent is different when you do down 3 compared to down 1, right? So here she stands compared to this. When someone stands, it's much easier to react and go for your gel compared to something like that, right? Because especially if they're already crouching, this is a little bit harder to react to than this, right? What's really neat about Kitana is that the fan lift is a launcher that does not need bar. That's great. And now, since a new patch, you can't break away anymore until someone touches you, right? So if I put the opponent on breakaway fast, look, she can't break away. The only way they can break away from here is as soon as you touch them. But the thing is that all Kitanas have an air square wave which breaks armor, right? This one. So the normal square wave from here is a special add-on. It's a special ability that costs 1 slot. But the air one, everyone has it. So this means that the other person always has to guess if you're going to try to break armor or not, because I can always do this. Right? And then I break armor and there's a crushing blow. So it's very, very strong. The mind games are really good. They have to figure out, is she going to break or not? Which means that sometimes you can trick people, right? You lift them. Is she going to go for the full combo or is she going to go for the kick and ass attack? Well, sometimes you can pretend you're going for the full combo and then go for the ass attack. Something like that. If they broke after, they would have been crushing blowed. Sometimes the visual cue of just using this attack here, down jumping 2 instead of jump 3, is enough for people to break, so you can always break armor right there. So it's very, very risky to break armor against Kitana, which guarantees you some damage. Now the way you usually want to end with Kitana, if you don't mind losing the corner, then you can end with down forward 2. This attack, as it does 100 damage, there's a crushing blow at the end. If there are, how many more hits? I think it's 8, yeah. It triggers if there is 8 hits or more in a combo. So usually this is the BNB that you're going to see. So it does a lot of damage, 365. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't like jumping combos. This is actually pretty easy to drop, the one that I just showed you. But that's one of the main combos with Kitana from the family. If you really hate jumping like me, you can do something else, like for example, you jump once like this. You know, something along those lines. When you look at Kitana, she has a lot of strings, but not all of them are useful. So I'm gonna tell you which ones are useful. So out of all the strings that you see, most of these you can use to end combos or something like that. You can use inside a combo when you hit confirm, but it's not really a starter. There are better ways to play Kitana than to use these other combos. So these are the strings that I think you can start with. 1, 2, the back 1, the back 1, 3. You can complete it as well, right? It's fine. There's a flawless block gap though. It resets neutral and it's -1 in range for the back 2. Let me show you the flawless gap. It's pretty easy to flawless block too, so which is why people, they stagger it. Don't always stagger it, stagger it sometimes and then sometimes complete it, of course. The back 1, 4. This one is great. You can complete it as well. There's no flawless block gap on that one, so you can always complete it, or you can stagger it from time to time to keep mixing it up. Okay, the back 2, this is the best string like I mentioned. It's a dial-in string though, so this means that you can't do back 2, 3 only, right? You can only do back 2, 3, 1. So it's either back 2 or back 2, 3, 1. It's a dial-in. And most of Kitana strings are dial-in, right? Meaning that you have to input all the buttons for them to come out, right? So for example, again, I can do forward 2 or I can do forward 2, 2, 2. I cannot do forward 2, 2. See, nothing happened. And the reason why NRS makes these dial-ins, I think, is because it's just a way to make the string a little bit less strong, because these strings are just so strong. And then we have the back 3, 4, we look at that. And finally the forward 2, 3, 4, another dial-in, ends with an overhead. By the way, the back 2, 3, 1, down 2 ends with an overhead, and there's some text from there. I think it's flawless blockable. But people are not going to flawless block this because it's too dangerous, right? Because there's a crushing blow at the end if they let go of block, which is why sometimes just staggering this here, -5, or completing it, mixing the two is really good, because sometimes when they're used to you finishing with the overhead, what you can do, you don't complete, you stagger and then you poke, and you steal your turn, essentially, because they're so scared of the follow-up and they have to react. So that is why you're able to steal turns with Kitana off of the back 2. Same thing with goes with any stagger. You stagger to steal turns and confuse your opponent, right? So I can stagger like this, and I showed you can just go ahead. But if your opponent reacts fast, they can interrupt this, because it's -4 and the startup is 13, so it's pretty slow. So what you can do is back 1 and 2 a poke. Apparently down 3 doesn't touch, I just found that out. So into a poke, you can do down 1 or you can do down 4. Same thing with this one, right? You poke and then let's say they let go of block, you do that, and then you poke them because they reacted to your stagger. As soon as you poke, you take your turn and you jail, and then you know, it would look something, I don't know if I can replicate it here, but something like this. And then you hit confirm. Not like this, but you hit confirm. Like I mentioned at the start, Kitana is a footsie type character. She is someone who wants to whiff punish you. So what does that mean? So for example, if the other Kitana, the opponent, is on duck, and I'm going to try to create situations where she's thinking that she's going to poke me, but I'm actually the one poking her, or hitting her. So right. So as you know, back 2 is either 0 or sometimes it can be plus on block. So right now she's ducking. If she's standing, it's 0. If she's ducking, it's +1. Okay, so +1 for a stagger. Absolutely amazing. So here's what you can do, right? And then you open them up. So back 2, backdash, back 2, you open them up. It even works with back 1, depending on your range. I think I could even work up close. It does. So even up close, you can open them up, get a crushing blow and punish. Stuff like that. And Kitana's down 1 is not short range, right? Look at this range. So this is pretty long range, and for her to be actually able to backdash all the way here before something even happens is pretty incredible. So make sure that you create situations where you bait movement and you whiff punish, things like that. You can also punish someone who is just walking forward and someone's overly aggressive and rushing you down by backing up and whiff punishing, right? Like I said, Kitana, it's not a rush down character. You don't want to be running after people. You want to be here. You want to be here, and if you obviously you don't just back away. You're not a runaway character. You want to step forward, step back, step forward, step back, bait movement. What am I going to do? Am I going to stagger it or am I going to complete it? Right? What are you going to do from here? So you use your movement intelligently and create situations for yourself. Even the back 1-3, this one, look at this beautiful thing here. If someone pokes from here, whoops, let's do it again. Punish City, right? I think I might even, yeah, you can even poke or hit with back 1, which doesn't have that much range. It's not bad, right? It's actually pretty surprisingly good range. Back 1, so back 1-3, hit punish. Alright, so from here I touch. You see, so Kitana has great tools to touch you from everywhere. So even, look at this, down 4, someone tries to poke with down 1, I don't even have to back away. Look at how beautiful this is. It even touches with a crushing blow starter. The down one, the back one, right? If someone's those aggressive, you can always take a step back and whiff punish them. Okay. So that's it for her staggers and her whiff punishing. Kitana is really a character that she has so many abilities, it's incredible, and she really uses her abilities to make things work for her. She has so many combos that it's really hard to cover them. So this is not a combo video. There's always some more that comes out with Kitana because she has so many abilities, it's incredible. But we'll look at some of her abilities for variation 1. That's the standard variation. That's the competitive variation 1. So air flutter. It might look useless, but first of all, it can dodge projectiles, right? So if you do that, if you you're about to land on one, right? So if I don't jump, I'm landing on one. If you jump late or something, you can always use a flutter to save yourself from a projectile. So in that sense, it's a good anti-zoning tool, but it's not just good to avoid projectiles, it's also good to confuse people and get combos started. So for example, so I jump, and usually when Kitana jumps, right, she's gonna land with jump 2. But what if you do this? If someone tries to anti-air you, and they do this, and they open you up. So I go to anti-air, and I get punished. And depending on the range, even like a down 2 can get dodged. I mean, you have to really be careful though, right? Because if I down 2 you immediately, it's gonna work. But if I down 2 you at the wrong time, from the wrong distance, I'm gonna get opened up. But usually this is really good against anti-airs that are like standing 1. Sichuan does standing 1 anti-airs often, so does Garrus. So this is gonna open you up. Down 2 is a little bit more risky. You can still get away with it though. So that's one way to use the flutter. There's also ways to just extend combos or just extend damage on block, right? Like that. So for example, you can either do this normally, which is 102 damage, or do this one, which is 157, or then just get a little bit more damage, 203, just by using flutter, which is real nice. It doesn't cost a bar or anything like that. Square wave, as I showed you, is a an armor breaker, but everyone has the air one anyways, right? So, and you usually break people in the air because you've lifted them with your fan lift. But you can have the special ability square wave, which costs 1 slot, to do it on the ground. It's 13 frames of startup. This means it's a reversal punish. So since square wave is a reversal punish, this means that you can punish things that you usually cannot punish. And for people who are new, reversal punishes mean that you're able to input the special on block, and then it comes out as soon as your character is able to move, right? So for example, if the other Kitana does this, what I'll do is that as soon as she's done, now I enter it, right? So look at my inputs on the right. I enter it before I'm out of block stun. So my character is still blocking, I enter it, and then on the first frame, as soon as she can move, the reversal comes out. So this means that it removes the human error of mistiming your input, so it does it as fast as possible, which means that it's going to punish, since it's 13 frames, anything that's minus 14. So we just have to find a string that's minus 14, for example. So for example, this Kitana is going to try to slice my throat. Okay, this is minus 17. Obviously I can punish it with other things. For example, I can punish it with standing 1. I guess. Yeah, I have to step forward a little bit. I can punish it with back 3, but let's say for example, let's say I'm not unable to punish it for some reason, like the back 2 doesn't work, that's what I've been used to doing. You can just reversal punish it, like that. Actually, I'll use another character to really demonstrate this properly. Hold on. Alright, so let's look here. So Joker ends like this, okay? It's minus 20, but the problem is that I can't reach him fast enough to touch him. I think I actually might with Kitana, hold on. I don't think so. So I can't touch him. What if I throw a projectile? I can't, right? So he's doing something that's minus 20, but it has so much pushback that I can't get to him at all. No matter how fast I try to dash and hit, right? So what you do is you do a reversal punish. Sloop. And now it worked. Why? Because my hit is 13 frames and his is minus 20. So I have time to hit him before he has time to block again. And I input that on block stun. Now. And now it comes out. See? So that's how you want to use reversal punishes. Oh, by the way, you can amp it just for a little bit more damage. 137 compared to 80, so it's worth it. Royal Protection absorbs projectiles, and it gives you a buff, a damage buff. So, for example, I'm going to show you how it stacks 3 times, and the difference in terms of damage. So if I do 1, 2, down 2, damage is 111, okay? So now she's going to throw 1 projectile at me. Whoops, come on. 137, okay. Non-absorbing 2. 150, very nice. Now we're 167, okay? So that's the max buff. I'm going to show you that it stacks only 3 times by absorbing 4 projectiles. 167 still, you see? And by the way, fan flutter, or roll protection, I mean, it lasts pretty long. I think it lasts 10 seconds. We're going to count, okay? Alright, so your buff is 10 seconds. As soon as the last one gets absorbed, now you have 10 seconds starting now, right? And I think it doesn't matter if you get 1 or 3, so 10. Alright, so it's always 10 seconds as soon as you absorb the last one. Just a thing though, realistically you might absorb 1 or 2 projectiles. You're not just going to absorb them all because you can't hold it, right? This is just one animation and it's not very fast. You have a lot of recovery. I mean, it's fast to get it started. It says start up 60, but that's just at the end of it, I believe. The last time that it can absorb. It can't be 60 for the first absorption. It's too fast. So I think these frames are actually wrong in the way they're displaying it. But in terms of recovery, so that's as soon as it's done absorbing. Now I mash, right? It took 60. So I'm going to mash as soon as it's done. See how long it took before I kicked? So the recovery is long, and because of that, this makes it hard to absorb projectiles if she's going fast. Like for example, if someone's spamming projectiles, you're not going to be able to absorb them all. You're going to have to duck, right? So I'm going to try to absorb them all, and I can't because the recovery is too long. So the best that you can do is absorb 1 and then dodge the other. Absorb, dodge, absorb, right? And then full punish. That's a lot of damage, 371, no crushing blow. So that's it for variation 1. Now we're going to look at Highborn, which is pretty much useless now, but we're still going to look at it. Alright, Edenian Razors. They nerfed that significantly, unfortunately. Now it's pretty much useless, in my opinion. Do you remember it used to do 3 fans? And you could not amp it before, but now you can amp it, and the 3 fans come out on amp, which is... okay, it's just silly, but I'm not going to rant. You can hold it or just click it. The frame's now a little bit more consistent than before. It used to have variable frame data, right? So this is -6 in place. So this was -6. So this was -6. I did the normal Edenian Razor. I'll do the one in place now. -6 again in place. This used to be +1 on block. So it's consistent. You lose your turn. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you hold it, of course, the frame's going to be variable. In theory, you'd want to use Edenian Razors to get unbreakable damage, right? 151. 2 fans touch, 193. It's not a lot, but at least you have hit advantage after. 1, 2, and you're +17. You're still in range for... it's a gel for the back 2, right? So when we're in the corner, that's when it becomes a little bit stronger. Do it in place, 1, 2, 3 hits, 242 just like that, and you're at hit advantage. Just keep in mind that if you keep holding it indefinitely, you're not going to be at hit advantage. Right, I'm just holding it like an idiot. Obviously my turn is lost, -88. So if you do it as fast as possible, 3 fans touch, you let go, you're +7 now. Of course it's going to be variable, right? +19 now, so it's a gel. So it's good for that, unbreakable damage, restands, hit advantage. It's good for that, but it's just not worth it in my opinion. Why do that when you can just lift someone in the air and they have to guess between an armor breaker or a full combo? It just doesn't matter anymore. And that's very sad because a highborn was my favorite style. And her frames, her plus frames, have been nerfed, so now there's no more plus frames, I don't think. Not even on block. Not even on amp, which is pathetic, which sucks. You're wasting a bar of amp, and you're still minus. It used to be plus. They killed my queen. So that's Edenian Razors for you. RIP. But half blood stance is still probably her best ability, in my opinion. It's one that you absolutely need when you play Kitana in customs. You still have unbreakable damage for this one, right? It has, it does almost as much as this one here, but on amp, and you didn't even spend anything. 193 compared to 187, I think is gonna be. Yeah. So might as well use half blood stance if you wanna keep it unbreakable. Right, no reason to use the Edenian Razors 151 on hit. It makes no sense. Anyways, forget about the Edenian Razors. The half blood stance does a lot of tech from that. First of all, there's traps. If you do something like this, half blood stance. So if you push them away, for example, when they're far, it's not a real trap, meaning that if someone hits you in the middle of it, in the middle of that big in the air, you're gonna get, it's gonna stop, right? So for example, she's gonna launch it, I hit her, it doesn't fall. It only falls when it's like you have a lot of time to, it's been in the air for a while. Since, see how it's been in the air for a while, it doesn't even touch me. So it's not a real trap in that sense, which is why you don't want to use it up close. You only want to use it on hard knockdowns. This, you trap and now it's going to come out for sure. Or something like, I don't know, maybe try this. Now the hit advantage is not enough. What about this? Yeah, that's a real trap here. So you do this, launch, real trap. There's no way that they can't block this. It's a mid 2 and it tracks. The Seeking Sai, which is 2 after the stance, there's far, close, and normal. There's no reason to do any of those other than if you're like faking a trap. For example, let's say my opponent is not very good. Okay, let's just imagine for the sake of imagining it. And I do this. And they think it's a real trap and block. This is not real actually. You can poke out of this, but they do this, right? But I wanted to grab, but I can't grab because she's in block stun. You could, in theory, throw the far-seeking Sai away and then grab her. You could actually do this in a real match. It could work, but this is not the way to play Kitana the best way possible. That's it in theory, but in reality, what actually works is to use it for pressure like that. So you use it for pressure on hard knockdowns, or when you're zoning or something like that. Or you simply use it to get an extra chip damage or potential hit off of them, right? So you're here, you have no intention of going forward, but you're like, you know what? I'm still gonna send this to you just in case. I want the chip damage, and if you don't block, right? If you're incompetent, you're gonna get hit. And if you look at the chip, so for example, this is on hit, okay? Now look at the chip. The chip is pretty good. So that's how you want to use the far-seeking Sai. Also, there's a crushing blow on it. If you touch the Sai 3 times, you'll get a crushing blow off of the gutted of this one here. So for example, right, so it triggers if it was hit with 3 Seeking Sais previously, and this charges essentially. It doesn't go away after the round. Meaning that, when I say charges, I mean like, okay, you touch, that's 1, right? And you do other things, blah, blah, blah. You touch on block, doesn't matter. You're still at 1. Okay, 2, you fight, then 3. Okay, it's going to be charged now. Easy crushing blow is off, okay? So what you do is you do this to 1, and here you go. And then you can go ahead and combo, do whatever you want to do from there because it launches. So in terms of techs, Kitana has silence rings. This is usually bad because if someone rolls, for example, and I'm stuck in the animation, I can't stop myself compared to something like this, right? Or or like even like that, I stop myself here. I don't have to continue. But if you do that, you're stuck in it, and they're gonna punish you. That's why silence rings suck. Plus, there's less stagger potential. But a way that you can use this weakness to your advantage is that people are used to you completing this because you can't do anything other than complete it, right? You can't stagger it. So they're not looking for a stagger. And that's one way you can use that to trick them into going into your blood stance. So for example, you could do this and into the blood stance. That's perfectly fine. There's a flawless block gap at the end here, but it's not too bad. Or you could simply do this. Go into the blood stance right after the kick. Keep in mind you have to enter it all, right? It's a dial-in, and as soon as the feet touches, you go into your stance. And that's how you catch people. Look at how quick this is. Like, when you don't expect this is hard to to see coming. Plus, you grab without taking a step forward. A lot of people telegraph their grabs by stepping forward and grabbing. Here, it's a back grab too. Most people take forward, and you don't even step forward like I just said, right? So, you can do that. And when people are used to you grabbing, and they tech, or they interrupt it with something else, what you can do is go ahead like that. Okay, so technically it's, if they go into stance, you have time to interrupt it. Like on hard, extremely hard read. The problem is that people want to react a little bit. It's not just automatic. It's not like a computer, because if they don't take a second to look, the follow-up might come the mid, and then it's combo city, right? They're gonna get launched. If you have fan lift, right? So they have to look a little bit. And when they see you going into stance, by the time they react, this might get them. This poke here. Just keep in mind that actually is interruptible on extremely hard reads. And sometimes also what I do from that stance here, I complete it, and then I go into stance like that. Initially, I just cancel it and do something else, continue the pressure, cancel and grab, back grab usually works super well. But when they're used to it, here's what I do. I show them and then I poke. Don't do it quickly like this, because this is just an ender. They don't really have time to react. Make them react to it and then poke. So hold it like this long, for example. Let them see it first and then poke. I promise you it's going to work. Alright, in terms of the dive kick here, obviously unsafe on block, but a little surprise here, you can actually amp it, and if someone tries to interrupt you a little bit too soon, they're gonna get caught. But keep in mind, this is a high, right? So you know that this might be coming. So for example, I'm gonna put this Kitana on here. She's gonna try to amp it. You can just duck it and then punish her for it. Even if she waits pretty long, like she's almost on the floor here, it's still a high, right? So you can always duck it and then combo city her. Okay, that's it for Highborn. Okay, so V3 is the one with the low fan toss and the fan Nado and the air Edenian twist. Okay, low fan toss is another excellent move, another one of our stronger abilities. Not just in terms of in terms of projectile, first of all, yes, absolutely amazing, right? It's even faster than the regular high, and mine, it's 14 instead of 15. Since it's a low, you're forced to block. So the only way to get in on a zoning Kitana is to step forward block, step forward block, step forward block, and by the time you get there, especially if she runs away, look at all the chip damage she does. So that's why zoning in this game is so unfair, because of the chip damage, in my opinion. Okay, so, but low fan toss, there are mix-ups here. Like I showed you, 4, 2, 3, 4, it ends with an overhead, which means you can do the low fan toss right here. That's a mix-up. 14 frames compared to 19 frames. Somewhat fuzzyable, somewhat. But the problem is, if they don't guard the overhead, there's a crushing blow at the end of that overhead. It crushes if someone is ducking the third hit of the combo. So it's perfect for Kitana, for example. Let's say I'm thinking the low's coming, and then boom, this happened, and it launches. So Kitana is a very strong character, and that's just another example of it. So use that one as a 50-50 right here. You can also use the back two. Remember, this ends with an overhead, and it's safe. Except there is a gap, but most people are gonna flawless block this because it's so dangerous to mess up, right? Because as you recall, there's a crushing blow if only the last hit of the combo connects. So if you try to flawless block this, because you're bold and you actually get caught, you mess up your flawless block, you're gonna get crushing blow. So people don't flawless block that usually. So you can also use a mix-up here with the low. This is fuzzyable for sure. Meaning, here you go, 27 frames compared to 14 frames. Meaning that you should be able to lock low and react, right? So I'll prove it to you. So random hidden playback. Reacted. Again, I'm reacting. There you go. So it's fuzzyable. Definitely fuzzyable. Don't be scared to fuzzy guard that, even though there's a crushing blow with the overhead. Don't get caught by it. Online it's a bit harder, but you still are able to do it. Okay, in terms of the low fan toss and the mix-ups, you want to amplify the low fan toss, unless you're a greedy man who doesn't want to spend a bar on block, right? But if you want to keep yourself safe, this is punishable, fully punishable. Don't get punished by this. Minus 19 and she's so close. You can simply amp it and push them back. So there are two animations, the normal one and then the step forward one. Doesn't make much of a difference, honestly. Like if you look, like I'm near the pole, right? In the back, I'm near the pole. I'm gonna do the normal one, normal amp. I land right here, okay? If I do the step forward, I land a little bit closer. So it doesn't make much of a difference. See, now she's near the pole, and I'm gonna do the normal now, normal one. So I recommend you still do the push forward. No, so it doesn't look like it makes a difference on block, actually. So this is the normal one. Look at where the other katana is, and now I'm gonna do the one that pushes forward. Looks like she's at the same place. Yeah, almost. The push forward pushes her a tiny little weeny bit forward. So I recommend you actually push her forward, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. Do what makes you comfortable. I always push forward just by habit, but you don't have to. And so this pretty much resets neutral, kind of, -3. So you amp it. You're in range for the back one, or you can always backdash into back two. Obviously this whiffs if no one moves, but the other katana knows it's her turn, so she's gonna try to move forward. So you essentially bait them, and you backdash into back two. The Nado here, guys, this is inferior in my opinion than the normal fanned lift, because it doesn't gel on a lot of things, and it actually takes a slot, which is incredible. But the thing is, it can get them from far away, right? So you really have to be careful. Like, it's almost a trap in a way, used for pressure, because you want to block this. You have to block this. There's no way around it. So you can go in for a back two, but it's not usually a very good shot. This is not something you see often because it's slow, right? 25 on startup. Not bad, but it's not the best. Anyways, it doesn't gel from the normal 1-2. Look, it doesn't gel, it's too slow. It doesn't gel from the 4-2. It's not gonna gel from the back 1-3. It doesn't even gel from the back 2. That's pathetic. It only gels from the back 1-2. Or back 1-4, sorry. So that's your only combo possibilities if you big fan Nado. So don't big fan Nado. Unless you're like zoning and you try to keep people away, force them to block at all costs. Like that's when you might want to have fan Nado. Okay, an Edenian twist. This is not really good in my opinion. It's too unsafe. There's an overhead, overhead, two overheads. The way that you could trick people if you pick that ability is to simply, you know, jump back, right? People don't expect you to come towards them when you jump back. You could do something like that, right? If you really want to be tricky. But careful, because it's -18, you're gonna get punished. The normal Edenian twist is much better than the air one because there's actually mix-ups with the normal Edenian twist, which we'll get to in a second. So that's it for variation 3. So now we're gonna look at the Edenian twist. This attack here, we looked at the air one, but there's also a ground one. Just a caveat, when you go to abilities and you click Edenian twist, you're not gonna be able to do the one on the floor immediately. What you actually have to do, you have to pair it with the air, what is it called? The air reversal. The air square wave. So in your abilities, click air square wave and click Edenian twist, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to use Edenian twist on the ground. Now, the jumping one, that's pretty weak and unsafe, okay? The ground one is still unsafe, but much stronger, and here's why. They're mix-ups, right? With that, you can do this here, see how there's a low, or you can do something like this, mix-up. 18 frames compared to, okay, 13 frames. This is 13, and this is 18. Ooh, I would say barely fuzzyable, right? Technically fuzzyable-ish, but I just because of the animation, so the pause that she takes a little bit, I'm not sure. And since the overhead is faster, I don't know. That's it for a mix-up. It's this into that one. Can still be really, really strong. The damage, I think, is pretty good. Just average. So that's how you want to use Edenian twist. Is it worth 2 slots? I don't know. Not really, in my opinion. Like it's slower than the reversal punish. I think just the normal reversal punish, I keep forgetting the name, it's probably better because it's faster anyways, and this is way unsafe, you know. Like this is unsafe too, but it looks like it gives you a little bit more distance. 23 frames, 22 frames, compared to this where you're right gonna be in her face. This is completely punishable anyways. So that's it for that ability. This one here, the retreating air flutter. This actually takes 2 slots. I don't think it should, but I mean, who knows. It looks a little bit like the the Cabal thing, right? The input is difficult though. It's like the backing one is easy, down back 2. But down back forward 2, that's a little bit difficult, especially when you're jumping. But that's because they're trying to make it hard because it's such a good attack for Kitana. So they think. Like, I think it's alright. There are a lot of different combos that you can actually do with the advancing air flutter actually in the air, but I can't do them. They're just so incredibly hard, and that's why you almost never see them on. You never see them online. I don't even think the pros do them. I've seen some combo videos of people doing stuff on Twitter with the advancing air flutter, but again, it's easy to edit shit, right? You miss 100 times, you get it once, and then you edit it and you put it in and you look like a god. But doing it consistently is extremely hard, almost impossible. So we're just gonna forget about the combos. I'm just gonna show you how you can use it. It's an ability, it's an air movement type of thing. You want your air mobility to increase, you pick that attack. There are cross-ups. Now cross-ups in this game, not as strong as in Injustice because there's a block button, right? So it doesn't matter to me if she hits me from here or if she crosses me up and hits me from the other side, because I can just hold block. But there is one way in which it's strong, is that you avoid anti-airs, because look, she's still looking one way. If she punches now, she's gonna get punished. So for example, okay, that's a real cross-up right here, but that's a problem too, right? If you try to anti-air, see, it's hard to anti-air. And even if you did like not properly, so you're crossing up just poorly here. Oh my god, she touches behind her. Usually that's not like that. Okay, usually that's not a good example, but usually it's not like that. Okay, that won't work, right? So let's say you do try to anti-air with normally. Okay, I think you can understand what I'm trying to say. So that's how it's strong, and with air flutter, you cross her up, right? So you make it hard to anti-air you, and that's exactly how this attack can be strong. Plus, like, you're forcing your jumps on her. You can kick her, but if you really want to keep your turn, you have to jump 2 or jump 1. And Kitana always wants to jump because jump 2 is a good starter for her Dylan, right? So from all the way here, she can jump on you. Usually, you know, she'd have to come all the way here, but from here, she can jump on you. See, that was from a hop. Things like that. And, you know, the chip, how is the chip? You get some chip damage, it's not too much, but you can also do it actually in combo. Look at this beautiful cross-up. So I would say that this is more of a either like a highly advanced move. I would actually say it's not even good for intermediate players. It's just too hard, right? It's for really advanced players, and not even just advanced players that are actually good. So unless you just keep it simple, right? So in combos you need to be like almost a pro to hit them consistently, or a pro. But if you just want mobility, of course you can do it. Just mobility, and you want like a combo extender, like this one here to extend combos, and you do a little bit more chip, that's perfectly fine. Are you willing to are you willing to use 2 slots on one move like this move here for air mobility? I don't know, it's up to you, right? If you like jumping a lot, this move is definitely for you. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about this move. Air mobility and extending combos. So when I talked about the regular specials, I forgot to mention Air Phantos. I think it's pretty obvious, a air projectile. But there's an amp as well, and the amp just puts you down on the floor quicker. And that's useful in combos, especially, I would say mostly in the corner. So, you know, for example, just say, look at sample combo. Or something like that, which would not be possible without amping it. See, there's a stop. As you can see, you can do that as well in the center. But there are more avenues where you can use combos. I don't think the optimal comes from the Air Phantos. But regardless, I mean, it is a combo possibility. You do what you prefer, but it's just not something that people usually go for. They go for other things, usually the double jump, right? The double air attack after the fan lift, things along those lines. But it's up to you. This is probably easier than a double jump, right? Whatever works for you. Just keep in mind that it costs 1 bar of offensive meter. Okay, Upward Phantos. This used to be OP, but for the new patch, they nerfed it significantly. I think what happened, if I recall, is that they increased your recovery, which limits your combo possibility, because this was pretty insane before, especially in the corner. There's still some combos in the center. I don't remember any of them, actually, but I'm gonna show you one in the corner, like a real quick that I just figured out like now. It's not as good as it was before. I don't think you should waste a slot on it anymore. Unless you are a specialist, you really know Kitana and the combos. If you do, Upward Fentoss can help you reach new heights in terms of damage, I think. So let's look at what it kind of looks like. There you go. 281 and no bar. So that's just an example here. We also have the dancing fans. These ones are not good. I mean, it's a waste. You lose your normal fans. I mean, it's a mid compared to a high. That's the only perk, but it's so slow and you can move out of the way. Like on reaction, you can dash. I think. I mean, I'm gonna try it to just prove you a point. If you see it coming, can you dash on reaction? Yeah, you can dash forward. You can even move out of the way on reaction. I mean, Kitana doesn't have a good backdash or a good backwards movement, but like you see how this is pretty like shit, and it takes a slot. I mean, okay. So, anyways, I think it's shit in my opinion. You might disagree. I think the normal one is better. What are the frames again? Normal? I think it's the same frames, 15, but it's just. It's not going horizontally, right? So you can just move out of it. So I think that's trash, but that's me. That's another ability, costs 1 slot. Okay, so then we have air piercing dagger. This one, it's an air projectile. This is pretty good. Like any jumping projectiles are good. The problem is that you can get reversal punished because it's always minus unless you, let's see if we amplify it. Yeah, if we amplify it, it's safe and she falls on the ground a little bit quicker, so I can imagine combo potential with the amplified version. I've not tried it, but this looks like it could be really useful, especially in the corner. Something like that, nice and easy. There you go. So yeah, good for corner stuff when you hit confirm. A good projectile just to annoy people. It's a mid too. Just keep in mind if you're playing someone like Shao Kahn or Liu Kang or something like that, they can reversal punish this. Even from this distance, minus 17. And the closer you get, obviously, the more minus it is, right? If you don't amp it. And what's the farthest you can get? You can hit the feet. Let's say we jump real high. Yeah, from here, you're, like, this is safe from a reversal, but you have to be really far. And when you're mid-screen, I think you can do it while hopping. Can you do it while hopping? Yes. When you're mid-screen, it's punishable, so just be careful when you use that. Like, this is perfectly fine against, like, a Sonya, for example. But you wouldn't do that against a Kazi Cage that has shoulder charge. Edenian Fate, I have no idea why this costs 2 bar. I have not seen any tech with that thing yet. I don't really know, like, why you would use this. The thing is, if it was safe, you could probably use it in combos, but nothing here is safe, right? There's not even a far, it's not a teleport, it's just, you start low and you get high. I mean, from here you can zone, I guess. I mean, these are all mids, the chip is alright, and from time to time surprise them. Like, minus 22, you might not even get away with it from far away, right? Even though, maybe you will. No, actually maybe. Like, another Kitana would punish this, but someone else might have an issue. So yeah, this is not good. Honestly, don't use this move. There's not any real techs that I've seen yet. I mean, you could use it to just reset neutral if you're crazy enough. Right? But again, if someone pressures you, that might be it. Actually, let's see if it's safe. Okay. So I'm blocking, I'm like, oh, I react. Not even safe, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't see anything to be used with that move. Anyways, that's just me. I think that's all. We've covered everything from her. Remember that she is a neutral type of character, which means she wants to be here, right? She can touch you from the starting screen, which is great. And you want to punish people, want to back up a lot with her, you can zone with her. She takes a lot of training though. She's not an easy character. Most of her strings are tied up in islands, but she's still really solid. One of the best female ninjas. Pretty advanced though, or at least intermediate. Alright guys, like, comment, subscribe. Have a good one. Peace.